Hello everybody, and welcome. I am the Shy Hat, and we are HackerFrogs. Alright, so everybody, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing two topics today. And the first of those two topics is going to be Hack the Box. So we've been doing Hack the Box over the last, I don't know, something like 8 or 9 weeks, and we've been running through all of the Hack the Box starting point machines, of which there are somewhere in the neighborhood of 13, and today is the 13th week. Not the 13th week, but rather the 13th box that we're going to be hacking through. And after this, then the Hack the Box starting point machines will be all finished. All right, and then after that, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be brainstorming through a educational cybersecurity video game idea that I've been thinking of, and we're going to be talking about how we could potentially develop this idea and what kind of resources we can use to make this game idea into a reality. But first of all, we're going to be running through Hack the Box Unified. So I've got my Hack the Box connection all up and running. If you want to join in, go ahead and navigate to this URL over here, and you'll have to make sure that you're connected to the Hack the Box network, meaning that this button over here is going to be green, and you're going to be connected to the Hack the Box starting point network. So I have my connection over here, and because I've already downloaded my VPN key and I'm running it right now. But to anybody who is interested in exactly how to do this, we do have a video on our YouTube page which goes over how to download the VPN key and how to connect to the network. If anybody wants that, go ahead and ask for it in chat, and then we can try to link that video to you, and then you can join in as well. Alright, so everybody, let's start Hack the Box Unified. This is a very easy machine. It is a Linux machine, and it has the following tags. It has a vulnerability assessment, databases, custom applications, MongoDB, Java, reconnaissance, clear text credentials, default credentials, and code injection. All right, so we're going to be dealing with all of these different technologies and techniques during our challenge over here. So I hope everybody's ready to get started. So the first thing we want to do after we've spun up our machine, and I've spun up the machine in advance because I don't want to wait around for a few minutes for it to initialize, is that we have our IP address right over here. And in order to access the machine, we're going to be using this IP address quite a bit. So we're going to click on the IP address, which is going to copy it to our clipboard, and then we're going to start our first scans. So we go over to our terminal, and we're going to run an nmap scan. So it's going to be nmap -p- for all ports, -vv for very verbose content output, which means that it's going to return to us before the scan is over, and -t4, which is almost the maximum speed, but not quite. It's fast enough to scan quickly, but not so fast as to give positive, what is it called? False positives. All right, so let's run the scan. And immediately we see a couple of open ports. There's port 8080 and there's port 22. Port 22 is associated with the SSH protocol, and port 8080 is usually used as a HTTP proxy. So we're going to wait on this a little bit. And actually what we could do right now is we could navigate to this website over here. So we know that 8080 is running an HTTP proxy, so let's go ahead and try to navigate to that website. And I'm going to open up a new tab, and then I'm going to paste in the IP address, and then on the end here we're going to do a colon and then specify the port, which in this case is 8080. and it says potential security risk ahead. And this is a potential security risk because normally what we do is, so it seems that we've been redirected. So we've been redirected from port 8080 over to port 8443/manage. So this endpoint over here, and it says warning potential security risk ahead. If you visit this site, attackers could destroy and steal information like passwords, emails, or credit card details. So the reason this appears is because this website right here is using a self-signed SSL certificate. So that has something to do with the HTTPS protocol. And self-signed certificates means that there's no guarantee as to the validity of the website. But in our case, it's not really a problem. So what we can do, because this is a cybersecurity exercise, and we're pretty sure that Hack the Box doesn't want to steal our information, we can go over to Advanced, click on Advanced, and then the certificate is not trusted because it's self-signed. We're going to click Accept the Risk and Continue. So just click on that. And then we see this page right here. It says Unify. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So it says Unify, and we have a version number over here, 6.4.54. So this is some information about this web application right here. We could potentially search for this name right over here and this version number, and something could show up. But first of all, let's take a look at how the Nmap scan is going. So the Nmap scan over here, we've got port 8080, we've got port 22, and it is still running right now. What we could do right now is go over to, so we've recently discovered port 8443, which is the port that is serving this web application right here. So while we're here, what we're going to do is we're going to search for this particular technology. So it's Unify, and then it's 6.4.54. And when we're searching, the autocomplete says exploit, vulnerability, download. Okay, so these all are indicative that this particular web app is vulnerable. So what we can do is we can just click on this one right here, Unify 6.4.54 exploit. Click on that. And then the first article that appears in the search results is from Sprocket Security over here. It says, another log4j on the fire, Unify. So the quick blurb over here is, in this article, we're going to exploit log4j vulnerabilities in Unify software, get a reverse shell, and leverage our access to add our something something. Okay, so what we can do is, so if we've identified that this particular web app is running Unify version 6.4.54, then we can take a look at the exploit over here. We'll click onto the blog article. And we've got a TLDR over here. It says, in this article, we're going to exploit log4j vulnerabilities in Unify software, get a reverse shell, and leverage our access to add our own administrative user to the Unify MongoDB instance. To automate this process, we have released a GitHub repository to exploit the vulnerability. So we can see that the GitHub vulnerability that they're talking about is linked right below here. What we're going to do is we're going to make use of this. We're going to make use of this code that they've provided for us over at the GitHub repository. But we're going to open that in a new tab. But first of all, we're going to read a little bit about this vulnerability. Okay, so it says, by now you're probably well aware of a recently disclosed vulnerability for the Java logging library, log4j. The vulnerability is wide-reaching and affects both open source projects and enterprise software. Ubiquiti announced shortly after the vulnerability release that several of their projects are affected. using Twitter, Sprocket released a proof of concept for using Log4j to achieve remote code execution on vulnerable unified network application installations. In this article, we're going to break down the exploitation process and touch on some post-exploitation methods for leveraging access to the underlying operating system. Okay, so we have the unified network application is used to manage Ubiquiti software and hardware solutions. This software suite can be installed natively on Linux or Windows or within a Linux Docker container. For the purpose of this article, we're going to work with Docker installation for the following reasons. Most limited tool set. Okay, so it's going to be talking about the attack surface. This is the Unify application, and it is vulnerable to Log4j. So Log4j is a very famous exploit, famous vulnerability rather, that came out in 2021, so not too long ago, and it became a very big deal because there were a lot of applications that were vulnerable to this exploit. So the application is most commonly hosted on port 8443 via HTTPS. So this matches the website over here, which is running on port 8443 on HTTPS, and it is Unify. So that's that is a positive match to identify this. So the vulnerability is in the remember me value issued in the login request shown below. Okay, so this is the vulnerable endpoint right here. So for the purposes of this video, we're not going to exploit the application using the manual method, which is what they're talking about over here, but rather we're going to be using the tool that they created in order to exploit this application over here. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to identify this, for the questions later, we need to identify the CVE associated with this exploit right here. So we're going to go over to the GitHub repository over here, and the GitHub repository here has the exploit that can be used to take advantage of the system. So this is Log4j Unify. This is the name of the project, and it's going to be exploiting CVE 2021-44228. So that's the CVE that we're going to be using later when we're answering the questions. So in order to install this this exploit right here, we have to do a couple of different things. So what we need to do is we need to install some software on our attacking machine environment. So this right here is going to be OpenJDK, which is the Java development kit, and this enables us to write and build Java programs. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin the installation process for this software by copying this command, and then we're going to go to our terminal, and we're going to become the root user, because this particular command has to be run as root. So we're going to do sudo su, and then we're going to input the password for our Kali user, which is by default Kali, and then we become the root user. So now we can give this command in order to install the software that we need to build the exploit. Okay? So apt update is going to update the system, and then apt install OpenJDK11 JRE Maven is going to install the software that we need to build the project. We're also going to tack -y onto this because it's going to ask us to confirm the installation otherwise, and we can just skip that step by adding the -y flag on there. So let's run this, and right now it's updating the repositories, and then it's going to download and install the program that we've instructed. So while we're doing that, what we can do is go over to our nmap scan. So we've got a few more open ports over here. So we've got 6789, and we have 8880 and 8843. So for the most part on this machine, we don't need to pay too much attention to these ports, but it's nice to know that they're open just in case. We've actually already identified all we need to know from the nmap scan in order to exploit this machine. So let's take a look and see if our software has finished installing or not. Okay, so it seems that we've finished installing the program here. So from here, we can switch back over to our regular Kali user, so su Kali, and then we're back as Kali. And then let's take a look at what we need to do next for the installation process over at the web page. So at the web page, we're going to clone the GitHub repository and install all Python requirements. So the exploit that we're going to run takes the form of a Python script, but there's a Java program that we need to incorporate into our exploit as well. So we need to build that, and this is the command that's going to let us clone the GitHub repository and then install all of the Python requirements that we need to run the program. So we're going to copy this, and then we're going to go back to our terminal. We're going to enter the temp directory so that cloning the GitHub repository isn't going to get in the way of any of our regularly installed programs. And then we're going to paste in the command. So what we're going to do is we're going to clone the repository over here and create our own copy of it in the temp directory. All right, so run the command, and then it's going to copy all of the files over to that directory, and then we're automatically going to be put into the directory over here. So the directory we have here is log4j unify, and we're at the right place to do the next command. So the next command is, from the root of the log4j unify repository, we're going to compile the rogue JNDI project using the command below. Okay, so we need to compile a Java program in order to run the exploit. So we're going to copy the command that does that, and then we're going to go back to our terminal, and we're going to run that command. So this is going to build rather quickly, and it's probably only going to take a few seconds more, and then it'll be finished. All right, so it says build success, 16 seconds, so that was not too bad. All right, so we're going to go back. So to run the container, okay, we're not going to run a container. We're going to skip straight to the usage. So exploit.py, and then U for URL, I for callback, and P for port. Okay, and they have an example of what the exploit command might be using the Python script over here. And so we can copy this and then fill in our own details over here to exploit the machine. Okay, so over here we're going to paste in the exploit command, and so at this point in time, I'm going to point to the two links that we've been using. So this is the article from Sprocket Security, in case you needed that, and this is the GitHub repository for the exploit. Hold on, I'm going to reload the page, and this is the GitHub repository with the exploit. Okay, so back at the command line, we have our example exploit syntax over here. So we need to supply the IP address over here, and then for -i we have to supply our attacker machine IP address, and then at this -p, we have to supply the port that the attacking machine is listening on. So for the port that we're listening on, we like to use the port number 443, and then for our attacking machine IP address, we need to look that up. So we can look that up over here on another tab. We're going to use the ifconfig command, and then we need to take a look at the ton0 networking interface, and that is the one that is connected to the Hack the Box network. So this is our attacker machine IP address. We're going to copy this, and then we're going to go back to the other tab, and we're going to fill in our -i argument right here. Okay? And the last thing we need to do is we need to replace this portion right here, unify.acme.com, with the IP address of our target machine. So we can go back to the web browser, and we can copy our target machine IP address, and then go back to the terminal and delete this portion, and then fill this in. So remember, HTTPS over here still remains the same, and this portion on the end, colon, and then 8443, this also needs to remain the same. Okay, so here's an example. I will copy this command and paste it into chat, just to show an example of what this might look like. If you want to use this yourself, you're going to need to replace two elements. You're going to need to replace the IP address after the HTTPS with your own target machine IP address, and you're going to need to replace the -i argument with your own attacker machine IP address. Okay, so before we can run this, we need to do one thing, and that is to start up our netcat listener. So we're going to catch a reverse shell from the web application server rather. So over at another tab over here, we're going to clear, and then we're going to run netcat. So this is our usual netcat command for catching reverse shells. It is -nlvp, so N for no DNS lookup, L for listening, V for verbose output, and P for the port. And we run this, and then we're going to be listening on our attacker machine on port 443. So what we want is for the target web server to make a callback on our attacker machine at this port. And we can do that with the exploit. And the exploit is right over here. This Python command is going to use the exploit code, and it's going to target this IP address on this port, and then it's going to make a callback to our attacker machine on this IP address at this port right here on our attacker machine. So let's run this. So we run this, and it's going to use the Java program that we created previously, and then it says firing payload, and it's going to check for a callback. So what this does is it forces the web server to try to connect to our attacker machine on our reverse shell. So on our reverse shell, it says connect to our attacker machine address from unknown, which is our target machine IP address, from this port number. So this is fine. Unfortunately, our reverse shell over here, if we ask who am I, it says we're Unify, this user right here. There are a couple of issues with this shell. So first of all, this is not a very good looking shell. We don't get very much in regards to feedback, and also we will quickly learn that there is no Python on this. There's no Python scripting language on this web server, so we're not able to use Python to upgrade our shell. So we're going to have to work with the shell as is, but that's fine, because what we can do is we can exploit the application further. So how do we exploit the application further? We can actually go back to the article that we were reading on the exploit over at sprocketsecurity.com. So over here, we can skip over to the post-exploitation section of the blog, and it says, once you have a reverse shell, you'll quickly find you aren't in the operating system as root. We've done some research, and this seems to be always the case outside of some fringe configurations. Okay, so we are not working as root, but post-exploitation, we can take some steps to try to elevate our privileges. So we started to ask ourselves, what can we really do with this? We happen to find out that the MongoDB instance storing all the application information is listening on localhost without authentication. That means that once you have shell access, you can read from and make modifications to the local MongoDB instance. I think you can see where we're going with this. We have three options. So because we have control of the database, we can make some modifications to the contents of the database. So what we can do are one of these three things. We can extract the password hashes for the administrative accounts and attempt to crack them. We can reset the password for an administrative user, or we can add our own shadow admin account to provide access to the administrative console. So it says that the first and third options are the most attractive, as they theoretically provide access to the administrative console long after any patch is implemented and does not arouse suspicion. Once we have administrative access, we can quickly establish persistence and laterally move inside the network. In every Docker and bare metal install we've seen, the MongoDB command line utility is available, which makes the following attack path possible in almost all environments. So we're not going to do this password cracking route. Rather, we're going to use the shadow admin approach. So it says, alternatively, we can easily add our own shadow administrator account using the command line interface. With the lack of authentication, we can execute a series of commands to add a local account. So first and foremost, we need to generate a password hash for our account using the makePassword command line utility. Oddly enough, this utility is included in the apt whois package. Install whois and then execute the following command to generate a hash on your local system. So what we can do is we can run this command to create a password hash that we're going to be running with our shadow admin account. So we need to copy this command right here, and then on our terminal, so on our Kali terminal, our attacking machine terminal, we're going to run this command, and the last argument in this command is going to be the password you want. So I'm going to make the password password. It's very original and it's very easy to remember. Okay, so you probably wouldn't use this password if you were running in a real world engagement, but this is not a real world engagement. We're just kind of learning here. So we're going to create the password, and this is what appears. So this is a password hash that is created using the SHA-512 method, and this mark right here, $6, indicates that this is a SHA-512 hash. Okay, so we're going to be using this a little later when we create our shadow admin account. So let's go back to the article and see what the next steps are. Okay, that says that this command will output a hash that we're going to use in the MongoDB command via a reverse shell. First, we're going to execute a command similar to the one below while replacing relevant variables. Okay, so this is a command which is run on the web server that is running MongoDB. So we're going to copy the command, and then we're going to go over to our terminal. So this is the reverse shell terminal. So first of all, what we should do is we should probably fix this command before we run it on the web server. So inside of here, we're going to, instead of here, we've got our password hash that we're going to be using, and we paste this in. So what we need to do is, okay, so we see here that the MongoDB command is Mongo, and it says port 27117. So one way we could double check that this is the port that the database is running on is that we can go over to our reverse shell and we can do the following command. It's psaux, and we're going to grep for Mongo. And so this is what this is going to do, is going to output the running processes, and then we're going to look for the Mongo database command. So we run this, and we see that the Unify user is running command Mongo port 27117, okay? And that indicates that, that the database is running on this port. And that's the confirmation. So we can go back to our command. We're trying to fix this. So this is the correct port. And next is the database over here, which is called ACE. So this is the default database name for the Unify application. And what we're doing is we're trying to write I think it's JSON. So this app uses JSON objects, and we're trying to write the user to the database JSON object, or we're trying to write the JSON object to the database. Okay, so it's this function right over here, db admin insert. So we're inserting an object. And then we need to insert an email address. This could be anything. Last site name. This could be anything as well. And this name for the object is unify-admin. So this is a new username that we're adding to the system. We have to add a time created over here, and then we have to add our xshadow, which is the password hash. So among all of this output over here, what we need to do is we need to modify this password hash to be this password hash that we created. So we're going to copy this password hash, and then we're going to paste it into the command. We're going to go over here and get rid of this password hash, but we're going to leave the double quotes, and we're going to paste in our own password hash. And this is the command that we should be using. Okay, so I'll copy the command for your own use in the chat. All right, so we're not going to be running it here. We were just creating the command over here so that we could do some modification. And that's because the reverse shell over here is not very good. If we tried to modify it inside of this reverse shell over here, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So we paste in the command, and then we run the command, and then it says right result inserted. Okay, so that indicates that we have written the information. So what do we do next? We can go back to the blog and get the next instructions. So to be exact, we need to replace the relevant variables shown with your desired email, desired username, and generated password hash. So we don't need to worry about the desired email or username. These are both suitable for our purposes. And then it says after executing this command, you can run the command below to see a list of the users now populated in the MongoDB database. So this command over here is going to run this function, db.admin.find for each print JSON. So it's going to print all of the objects inside of the database. So we're going to copy this and we're going to run this command, paste in the command and run it. And we see that the last object created over here is our object. So this object over here, it has an object ID. All the other users in the system have their own objects as well. But this one is what we need to pay attention to. So the object ID is here, the email is here, last site name. So we need to remember this name because we're going to be logging in as this user in a little bit. And our password hash is over here. What we need to do is we need to keep track of this object ID number over here. Because what we need to do first before we log into the website is we need to add this user as an admin level user to those websites. So what we need to do is copy this and keep it safe somewhere. So I'm going to copy it here, and then maybe here I'll just paste it for later. Okay, and then we need to go back to the blog and see what it needs us to do next. So it says collect the object ID for the user you just created. You'll need it later, and it should be the first value in the array associated with the user that you just got output. Okay, so we got our object ID number, and we're going to move on. It says once you have stored the object ID value, we're going to execute the command below to get a list of all sites associated with the appliance. So this is another command from MongoDB, and what this is going to do is it's going to print out which objects are associated with websites. So this is going to be the website objects, and what we need to do is we need to modify the administrative settings associated with these website objects. So we're going to copy this, and then we're going to go back to our reverse shell, and we're going to paste in the command and run the command. Okay, and we see that there are two objects right here. So these are both associated with websites on the application. So we have two websites associated with this object ID and this object ID. We need to keep track of both of these. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it in along with the other object ID numbers. And then we're going to copy the second site over here, and I'm going to paste that one in as well. Okay, and so this first one is the admin user object. The second one is this first site object, and the third one here is the second site object. So going back to the blog, it says store the object ID values highlighted in the screenshot above. Finally, we're going to execute the command below, inserting the account you just created's object ID and the site's object ID collected using the previous command. For example, to add the account unify admin to the site super, execute a command similar to the following. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to copy this command, but we're not going to be using the command as is. We need to replace the object ID values. So back at the terminal, I'm going to clear this, and then we paste in the command that we just got there. So this is the usual MongoDB command at port this particular database, and we're going to do this function right here, db.privilege.insert. So what we need to do is we need to replace this value right here, admin ID. So over here, admin ID, we're going to erase this, and then we're going to go over to where we stored the object ID value, copy this, we're going to copy just this, and then we're going to go over to the other terminal, and we're going to paste in our admin ID. like this. And then what we need to do is we need to replace the site ID. So we're going to delete the site ID, and then we're going to get the site ID from the values that we pasted over here, or rather copied. And then site ID here, we're going to paste it in, and we're going to copy this whole command and then we're going to run this inside of a reverse shell. So we go over to the tab where we have our reverse shell, and we run the command like this. We paste it in and run it, and it says right result inserted, and we need to run this one more time with the other site ID. So we go back over to where we have our command. We get rid of the first site ID, and we grab the second site ID, copy that, then over here we're going to paste in the site ID, and we're going to copy the entire command and run it inside of the reverse shell. So just like the first command, we need to copy this and then go back to our reverse shell and paste in our other ID. Run the command, and it says right result inserted. So what we've done is that we've created our shadow admin user, and then we modified the privileges of the user and attached it to certain websites. So 2 websites in particular, we've created this shadow administrator user with the admin privileges. Okay, so what all this does is that means that we can log into the Unify website using this user account. Okay, so over at the Unify web app, we have our login page. So we can log in as Unify admin, which we created, and the password is password as we specified. Okay, so click on sign in. It takes a little bit to load, but then it's going to ask for the username and password again. Okay, so let's put it in again. It's unify-admin, and the password is password, and we click on sign in. Unify is having trouble with this direction. Sorry about that. Press the reload button. Okay, so we're going to press it. Let me take a look at my notes real quick. Okay, so this is taking a little while to load. In the meantime, what we can do is we can search for the user flag on the system. So we can go back to our reverse shell, and then we can give this command right here. So it's going to be find / and then it's going to be name, and then it's going to be user.txt. That is the name of the user flag. And lastly, we're going to throw out all of the error messages. So it's 2 greater than /dev/null. We're going to run this, and it finds that the user.txt file is in the home/Michael directory. So what we can do is we can read the flag by using the cat command. And this is the value of the user flag right here. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it in my notes, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using that user flag to answer some questions later. Okay? So let's go back to the Unify web app. So it says default dashboard. I'm going to click on settings over here, and it's going to play a little movie, and I don't want to see this, so I'm going to X out of it. All right, so over at the blog, we've arrived over here at lateral movement options. So this attack path is beautiful for several reasons. It is incredibly difficult to detect that an additional administrative account was added. No notifications are presented, and IT has to navigate pretty deep into the system configuration options to actually see the new account. So what we're going to be doing to elevate our privileges is this. We're going to be doing some stealing of SSH creds. So it says, insanely enough, if a Ubiquiti, USG, or other gateway appliance from the vendor is in play, you can also easily grab the SSH credentials for the admin account used to access the device. This can be found under Site Configuration Options and is shown in the screenshot below. So let's take a look at the application. Okay, and if we click on the user icon right here, it doesn't say the name, but we are in. So we're in the user application, so we're going to take an opportunity to play one of our lovely redeems. Is this a hacking? So anytime you use your terminal to give commands, that is indeed a hacking. All right, so let's see if we can access the SSH credentials like it says in the blog article. So we're going to go to System, and then after that, Settings rather, and then we're going to go down to System over here and click on that. So this application seems to be running rather slowly, but I hope everybody has a little bit of patience to see this through. If you're having fun following along with us, please type Mongo Bongo in chat with some smiley faces, and I really appreciate that. Okay, so it seems to be pretty slow. Let's try reloading the page. Notes by Nisha says Mongo Bongo, and Lucia also says haha Mongo Bongo. Welcome you two, and I hope you're having a lot of fun hacking along with us. Are you currently caught up to where we are right now, or are you working on previous steps? It's okay if you're not exactly where we are right now. But let me take a look at the blog and see if I'm at the right place. Notes by Nisha says I am caught up. Well, that's great to hear. Notes by Nisha, you also, so you have your, is it okay if we talk about your exam, or would you rather we not talk about your exam? Okay, so this seems to be a bit slow. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to manually navigate over to here and see if we can see something. Sure, we can talk. Yeah. So I just wanted to say good luck with your exam tomorrow, And one thing that you should really remember about the EJPT exam is that they're going to give you a machine to work from, and the first thing you need to do is you need to identify the IP addresses on the network. So you have to do some network enumeration to find the machines that are currently online. So just make sure that you're ready to do that. But over here, it seems like so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make on the reverse shell. I'm going to make sure that we can see the objects over here. So I'm going to check on. I'm going to check for the users with the Mongo command again. Okay, so we have. So these are the sites. So the sites are name super, key super, name default. Okay, so could it be that I've forgotten to insert the names when I run that command? Let me go back to the blog, because it seems like we're not getting the user access that we want. So over at this step, we've got our admin ID, and we've modified that permissions. Role admin, site ID this. Okay, we ran those two. So to the other people in chat, so it says, Notes by Nisha says, mine is loaded and I followed your steps exactly. So yours loaded and you were able to, so I'm going to log out of here first. So I'm going to sign out. And I'm going to try signing in again. So unify-admin and password. Notes by Nisha, are you able to see the, so if you log in as admin on this web app, you should be able to see a dashboard, and the dashboard should have a bunch of stuff on it. So what this should do, the site should load up, and then there should be a dashboard immediately after you log in over here. Are you able to see a bunch of information on this dashboard? So Notes by Nisha says yes, it does. Okay, so what I want you all to do is I want you to try to steal the SSH keys, and what you can do is at the blog over here, you navigate over to the following. So it's going to be this series right here. I'm pasting into the chat. So first you go to settings, then system application configuration, then look for the device SSH authentication. So after that, you should be able to get the SSH keys from there, and from there you can log in as that user on SSH and complete the box. But it seems that I've done something incorrectly, so I cannot see the interface over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat the steps. So we've got Unify admin, last site name default. Site ID over here. Okay, I'm going to try repeating these two. So I just need to check that my so Unify admin has 4C3. I'm going to check this. 4C3, and I'm going to run this command again. So Notes by Nisha says, I see the device SSH auth, the fields are empty, and allows you to enter the SSH keys, the name, and the SSH RSA. So when you get to device SSH authentication, there should be an entry already there. So I'm going to run this command again, and then I'm going to run this command again as well. So it could be that I've made some sort of weird syntax error, but I don't see where it is. Okay, and then after I'm going to go back. Going to log out. Okay, so from Unify, I'm going to say remember me, and then Unify. Yeah, that's the correct password. So you've done the steps correctly. For some reason, it's not working for me, but I'm going to try doing this again. And click on sign in. Do not save. Okay, okay, so this is not. This is not working for me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try another method. So I'm going to resort to looking at the walkthrough, because the walkthrough actually has an alternate method of solving the challenge. So hold on. I'm just going to sneak a peek over here. So the last thing, so the method that they use inside of the official walkthrough over here is that they modify the password for the existing administrative user. So what they do is they do this command right here. So this command over here is going to modify the object over here. And we can do that. We need to modify this. So I'm going to delete all this. I'm going to paste in the command, and then I'm going to replace this xshadow field with this password hash. Oh, that's you don't run it here, you run it on the reverse shell. Okay, copy, and then on the reverse shell, paste this in. Okay, So now the regular administrator account should have been replaced with the password should be replaced with the password that we specified over here. So we're going to go over to this we're going to log out of here. So Lucia, I'm wondering, the other user that was watching earlier, Lucia, did you manage to get into the database along with us? So administrator, and then the password is going to be password. Okay, so now we've arrived at the unified dashboard, and this is what you should see. So it should say everything is great, and then what you need to do is you need to go over to settings, which is right over here, settings, and then you need to go to system, so settings, and then over to device authentication. So device authentication over here, this is where you're going to get the SSH credentials. So the username is going to be root, and then the password is going to be all starred out over here, except that you can reveal it by clicking on the eye icon. So this is the password right over here for root, the SSH password, not a crackable password, this. So what you need to do is you need to copy this, and what we're going to do is we're going to log into the server using SSH. Okay, so next we're going to go over to another one of our terminals, and we're going to SSH as root to the IP address. What is the IP address? Let me get it real quick. Lucia says, I'm actually a little behind but expected because I'm a beginner. Well, no problem. If you're having some trouble with any of the steps, please tell us which step that you're having trouble with, and we'll try to help you catch up. Okay, so the IP address is 129.160. Let's just copy this. Whoops. Okay, and then the IP address, we select yes, and then it's asked for the password. The password is the password we got from the application, and now we're root. So what we need to do is we need to redeem this.
I'm system root.
All right, so who am I? This is kind of slow. So we are root now. All right, so that means that we have compromised the system, and what we can do is we can get the root flag. So to get the root flag, it's going to be in the root directory. If we see what directory we're in the root directory, and we see that the flag is here. So all we need to do is cat it out, and then we can copy this and start answering some questions. We're in. All right, put on your favorite Hollywood hacker voice. We're in. And that is done. Okay, so before we finish off this box, let's go about answering some of these questions. Some of the questions are going to be seen a little bit odd because the intended method of exploiting this box is assuming that you're exploiting the log4j vulnerability manually, but we did it with the help of an exploit. So Lucia says, no trouble for now, thank you. No problem. If you have any questions, please type it in the chat and we'll try to help you out. We're definitely here to help everybody help everybody get ahead. So back at the web page, we can start answering the questions. What are the first 4 open ports? So first 4 open ports we can see from our Nmap scan over here. So it's 22, 6789, 8080, and 8443. So I've got it written down over here. I'll paste it in chat for you all. This is the answer, paste it in, submit the answer, and that is done. Question number 2. What is the title of the software that is running on port 8443? So if we go over to the web app, we see that the title in the tab is called Unified Network, and that is the answer. So this is Unified Network. All right, so I think this is the first major box that we worked on where we used an exploit to compromise the machine. But sometimes it is much more convenient to use exploits, but it is also very useful to try to exploit the vulnerability manually, because then you can understand exactly how the vulnerability works better if you exploit it manually. The next question is, what is the version of the software that is running? Okay, so that's important. We took a look at the on the login page, and it was version 6.4.54. Okay, and submit that as the answer. Next question is, what is the CVE for the identified vulnerability? So if we take a look at the web page for the GitHub exploit, it says that it's exploiting this CVE right here. So we can copy the CVE and provide that as the answer for the question. So back over here, submit that as the answer. HackerFrogs is running a bit slow today. Okay. Did I actually get the CVE wrong? Look for unified vulnerabilities in 2021. Okay. Maybe the CVE is over here. You know what? I'm going to do a manual Google search for this. I'm going to unify 2021 vulnerability. Okay, so if that's the correct one, I'm not sure why, or maybe I got the format wrong. 442, paste it in. No, this is a different one. Interesting. Okay. So I'm going to submit this as the answer. It also says incorrect pass flag. What did I... Okay, so let me take a look at this. It ends in 8. Let me go back over here. So this one, why are there so many of these CVE numbers? Okay, so I'm going to copy this one. It ends in 8. So that's an important thing to remember. Okay. All right, so paste this one, submit it, and it's done. All right. So what the next question is, what protocol does JNDI leverage in the injection? So if you take a look at the blog article over here, and you were to read through, then you'll notice that it talks about the LDAP protocol over here. So, and in fact, you can see right next to JNDI, it says LDAP, and that's the answer that we're looking for in this question. So this question, the answer is LDAP. Okay. Next question is, what tool do we use to intercept the traffic indicating the attack was successful? Okay, so if you're running the exploit manually, then you're going to need to use the TCP dump program in order to intercept the traffic from the web app back to your machine. So TCP dump is the answer. And we're going to submit that again. Okay, that is done. The question is, what port do we need to inspect intercepted traffic for? So in this case, when we exploit this vulnerability manually, we're going to need to search for LDAP traffic, and LDAP traffic is usually going to be on the following port, which is 389. 389. So if you were to ask Google or ask ChatGPT what port is associated with the LDAP protocol, this is what you're going to get. So submit this as the answer. And the next question is, what port is the MongoDB service running on? So along with all of our Mongo commands, we had to supply a port number, and I do believe that the port number was 27117. And submit that as the answer. Okay. And the next question is, what is the default database name for the Unify applications? So there was a certain database name associated with all of the database applications. All of our commands after the port number started with this name right here, ACE, which is the default name for the database in this application. So the answer is ACE. Next question, what is the function we use to enumerate users within the database in MongoDB? So if we were to look for individual users inside the system, which we used to look up our admin user that we added, it was db.admin.find. Just like this. Next question is, what is the function we use to update users within the database in MongoDB? Okay, so this has to do with the manual method of exploiting the, sorry, no, not the manual method. The other method of privilege escalation after we have access to the MongoDB database, which is to modify the administrator user's password. So we can do that with the following command, db.admin.update, with the parentheses right over here. While we're waiting for that, submit the answer again. the next question is, what is the password for the root user? So this is the SSH password that we found after we logged into the system with admin privileges. And it was this one right over here, which is not a crackable password for U2022. Dead Show just subscribed on YouTube. Welcome, and thank you very much, Dead Show. Welcome. All right, so let's give you a HackerFrogs welcome. Go to hack.
Mr. Hat, may I please be excused from class?
Well, Kyle.
Yes.
You hear me? You go to
Hack.
You go to
Hack.
You
Have a great day. Have a great day, Nicho. Okay, so this is the password right here. You want to copy that and submit as that is the answer. So it is here. We have the last two things we need to do is Echo has just subscribed. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube, Echo. Let's see if we can find an appropriate redeem for you. Let's redeem this one.
Hike the planet! Hike the planet! Shut up again!
Okay, so we've got our submit user flag. I happen to copy the user flag somewhere, so I can just copy it, and I'll provide it in chat to anybody who needs it. Submit, that is the answer. And lastly, we have to submit the root flag. And the root flag is this right here, and I will paste it in chat for everybody to use if you need it. Okay, so after this it says Unified has been pwned. Congratulations. And then we click OK. And with that, we have finished all of the tier 2 starting point boxes on Hack the Box. I'd like to say thank you to everybody who joined in with us today and during the previous weeks. It's been a pleasure helping everybody walk through these machines, and I do say that I learned a lot about hacking these machines while learning about them to teach to everybody. All right, so everybody, we're going to be concluding our Hack the Box section of the stream, and we're going to be moving on into the second portion of the stream, which is Hack Dev. This is a new segment that we're going to be running on the stream, where we're going to be talking about developing stuff. Lucia says, "Great content, incredibly helpful." Well, I'm really thankful and really happy that you find the content useful. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start up some music because I want this to be a little less formal, and turn that down a bit. And then we're going to change out the titles on our overlay. So this one, we're going to do education game ideas. And for the bottom one, we're going to do Hack Dev. Okay, so everybody, what we're going to do is I'm going to start talking about a project that I want to start developing in the future. And what this is going to be is it's going to be a cybersecurity computer game that I want to develop. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how I'm going to develop the game. If anybody has any questions or any suggestions, any comments, please feel free to type them in chat as I'm talking about this. All right, we're going to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out all these other windows, and then maybe we'll keep our ChatGPT window, because occasionally I like to ask questions over at ChatGPT. And so I've got a notepad document over here, And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be pasting in all of my ideas over to the GitHub. So HackerFrogs has a GitHub repository, and it is over here. So what I need to do is I need to sign in because I'm going to be modifying some files. So let me grab my credentials. So does anybody here have their own GitHub repos? If so, please type in chat and let us know. GitHub. So the GitHub email address is the HackerFrogs@gmail.com. Okay, and we're in. Okay, so this is HackerFrogs, and we're going to make a new directory over here. Notes Manisha says, yes, it's a work in progress. Well, I'm glad to hear. A GitHub repository is very useful for all sorts of reasons, because you can keep all sorts of stuff that you want for your various programming projects, or it doesn't necessarily have to be programming projects. You can keep basically any information there. Stuff that you want to keep or you want to share. I'm going to make a new file. Inside of here. I'm logged in, right? Usually there's a button to create. Hold on. There should be a button for me to create a new file. I feel like such a noob. Okay, create new. Okay, here it is. I just couldn't find it for a second. New repository. Well, it should be. I should be able to create a new file inside this repository. So plus create new file. Okay. I was just a bit disoriented. So I'm going to create a new directory called hackdev, and inside there I'm going to call this file game ideas. And I'm going to make it a markdown file. Okay, so we can paste in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste in all of the information I have about my ideas over here. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bigger, and we're going to talk about what this game is going to be. Okay. So what is the educational goal of the game? So we're going to start developing a game in the near future, but first I'd like to talk a little bit about what I wanted to do with this game. So what I really want to do is I want to start introducing cybersecurity to a lot of different people through this game. What is the educational goal of the game? It's going to introduce and teach cybersecurity skills through playing the game. We're going to teach basic skills in the following categories. So all of your typical CTF categories, you have Linux and Windows CLI basics. So basically how to use a terminal, Python programming, web app hacking. So these first three, they all correspond with HackerFrogs programs that I already run, and the content is going to be very similar. So we also have x86 assembly programming. So these topics right here have to do with future HackerFrogs programs that I want, HackerFrogs courses that I want to develop in the future. So x86 programming is a low-level programming language that is very useful to know when you're doing these two tasks right here, which is reverse engineering and binary hacking. So whenever you do very low-level programming, you're doing binary hacking, and maybe you're doing buffer overflow attacks, or heap overflow attacks, or stack buffer overflow attacks and heap buffer overflow attacks, you're going to be using and you're going to be reading this x86 assembly language. So I definitely want to teach that inside of the game, and we're going to teach a little bit about digital forensics. So digital forensics, of course, is obtaining useful information from digital forensics objects, such as images or disk images or picture files or memory dumps, stuff like that. You'll find this stuff inside of picoctf as well. So basically everything here is also in picoctf. I really admire picoctf for the way that they've organized their cybersecurity education. So I want to teach all of these kind of skills inside of the game. So what kind of game mechanics or features are we going to see in this game? So what I pictured was a type of game where you play a cybersecurity student in college, and you attend different classes and you meet different friends. You start developing friendships with different people who have specializations in different areas of cybersecurity. So there's going to be, let's say that there is a Python programming friend, person who is all about Python programming. Maybe there's another friend who's all about doing web app hacking, and another friend who's all about doing binary hacking or reverse engineering or digital forensics. So each one of these is going to be a different character that he can develop a friendship with, and you're also developing your statistics. So we're going to be talking about, so what kind of game mechanics or features are we going to see in the game? We're going to be talking about in-game statistics. So we're also talking about managing your health, your stress, and your training. So inside of the game, your character is going to have a health stat, and basically doing anything inside of the game aside from resting is going to wear away at your health. And depending on how difficult the activity you're doing at the time, you're going to increase your stress. There's going to be a stress stat, and if your health stat becomes too low or your stress stat becomes too high, then bad things are going to start happening. So maybe when your health is low and you start studying, then the results that you're studying are not going to be as good. Or maybe if your stress gets too high, then your character could get sick. So these are definitely things you need to manage, and you need to manage how well you train. So I'm supposing that inside the game there are a bunch of activities you can do every day. So you can study this subject or that subject, or you could go to the gym, or you could hang out with your friends, and these are all going to affect the different stats in the game. So this is going to be the main part of the game. It's you're trying to maximize the amount of training you get by doing these activities while making sure that your health doesn't get too low and your stress doesn't get too high. And we're also going to be talking about schedules and time management. So inside of the game, there are only so many in-game days that you have to complete your goals, and I guess your goals are to become really good at some cybersecurity disciplines. So maybe you really want to aim at become really good at Python programming, or you really want to become good at digital forensics. You can take these classes and maybe perform some other activities to get your stats up. And also, you're going to be making friends and maintaining friendships. So you're going to be meeting friends depending on which class you go to. So different classes have an associated friend. So like we said, there might be a digital forensics friend or a Python programming friend, and you can develop either like a friendly relationship with these people, or you can develop like a rivalry kind of relationship with these people, depending on your in-game dialogue selections. So each time you encounter these people, you might have a choice. They might talk to you, and you can respond to what they're talking about with a response of your own, and you might say something that makes them happy, or you might say something that makes them very unhappy. So that's these are the type of of relationships, friendships you can foster during the game. Also, because we're talking about cybersecurity, they're going to be capture the flag events, so it's CTF events inside the game, maybe some other contests, and those are going to occur every few months or maybe every few weeks, and you're going to be able to compete in them, and if you win, maybe there's some prizes you can get, maybe some money or maybe some other items that you can get inside the game. So another thing that we want to incorporate in the game is the in-game CLI terminal. So there are a couple of different games you can play right now. Maybe there are some other like hacking type games where you can type inside of an in-game CLI terminal and see some results. So maybe you're typing inside a Linux terminal or a Windows terminal. So this is definitely something I want to see inside the game, because we're going to be teaching Linux and CLI basics as part of the game, and it doesn't make too much sense unless you can actually do these things. Nispanisha says, I need to work on reverse engineering category for CTFs. It's a weak area for me. Well, it's also a weak area for me. You definitely need to understand the language that is being discussed in any reverse engineering challenge. So if the challenge is talking about some C program, you have to understand C in order to be able to reverse that program. Or if the program is written in Java, likewise, if it's written in Python, same thing. But reverse engineering is it's actually really fun. You feel a lot like you're playing like some sort of a CSI agent when you do reversing. And I also have a great amount of respect for people who do binary hacking, which is basically taking advantage of insecure binary programs and doing buffer overflows and such. If you've never done a buffer overflow program or a buffer overflow challenge inside of a CTF, I've got a couple of videos on my YouTube channel. So let me look at my videos we've got called. So during the previous Pico CTF challenge, there was this heap series of challenges, and these are buffer overflow challenges. So there's heap 1, heap 0, heap 1, and heap 2. Notes by Nisha says, I've only tried one during the Advent of Christmas event on THM. Well, they do these kind of challenges pop up every once in a while during events or CTF challenges. So if you haven't taken a look at these videos and you were wondering what binary exploitation is like, I'll leave the links to these 3 videos in the chat so you can take a look at them later. But definitely heap 1 and heap 2 are some fun challenges if you take a look at exactly what you're doing inside of the code. So what was I saying? Okay, so I'm talking about what we're trying to do inside the game. So what kind of game mechanics? So I definitely want an in-game CLI terminal so that we can teach students how to use CLI commands. And then hacking in the game. So hacking in the game meaning that when you're competing in the CTFs in the game, you're definitely going to be using real life tools to complete challenges. As well, the game can be hacked itself. So maybe there are some files that you can adjust, you can modify outside of the game to get some good benefits for your save file maybe. And I definitely want an in-game web browser. So we're going to be teaching web app hacking inside of this game as well. So I definitely want there to be some sort of like a Firefox browser, something like a Firefox browser or something like a Google Chrome browser inside the game that you can play around with to do the web app hacking portions of the game. So what are some games that we're looking to emulate in theme or feel? So first of all, there's hack.net, which is a very fun and thematic game that you can. There's actually a free version of hack.net out there as well. So let me try and see if I can find it. Hack.net. Is that not the name of the game? I thought it was hack.net. No. It was called Hacknet. Hacknet, right. So you can, let me make this a little bit smaller. So Hacknet, so you can get a free version of Hacknet from this website right here. So if you're ever interested in playing a hacker type game, so the thing about this version of the game is that it's not as polished as the paid version of Hacknet. But if we take a look at the Hacknet page on Steam, Hacknet. Internet's a little bit slow. So here's Hacknet on Steam. It's basically what you do is you play as a hacker, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to get into different computers, and you can scan different ports, and you can try using your exploits against them. You're mostly running commands inside of the in-game terminal over here, but the thing is that it's not a very realistic game as far as the hacking tools that you're using. But one really fun thing about this game is that you're able to use the like a Linux-like CLI to do, and you can run all sorts of Linux commands like cd and ls and ssh, and so that part of it is fun, and that's something that I want to emulate for the game that I want to design over here. So, but what else? So there's some other games that I want to take a look at is the Tokimeki Memorials series of video games. So these are Japanese video games where essentially what you're doing is you're going to school and you play a high school student, and you're going to different classes and raising your stats. But the goal of this game is that there are a bunch of, you play as a high school boy, and there are a bunch of girls that go to your school as well. And while you're conducting classes, so say if you go to your gym class, then you'll meet some girls that are also sporty, and the goal is to meet them and to date them and to impress them with your athletic skills, if that's what they like. Or maybe you'll go to an art class and you'll meet and if you go to the art class a bunch, then you'll meet a girl who's into art, and maybe you can date her. So the goal of these games is less about learning skills and more about meeting girls and dating them. But this is the type of concept that I wanted to emulate for the cybersecurity friends who you meet in the game that I want to develop. But except that the emphasis is not on dating the friends. The emphasis is more on becoming friends with them and developing a wonderful platonic friendship. That's what I want to do. So as well, there's another Japanese game series called Persona, and this one's very flashy and very popular, and it's also on Steam. So if we were to go to Steam and we were to look up the Persona series, say Persona 3, they recently made a remake of this one over here. So it's a very old game series. Let's just say I'm born in this year. So it's also a game where it's very stylish and very anime, and you're fighting otherworldly monsters and stuff. But a big part of this game is making friends with all of your classmates and hanging out with them and talking to them, and seeing how their characters develop and such. So this is another inspiration that I want to draw from as far as the game that I want to create. And what else? So what is the game dev platform that I want to use for development, and why? So there's actually there are a bunch of different game development platforms, and so if we were to ask ChatGPT, what are some popular game development engines? So it's going to spit out a bunch of different very popular platforms for making games. For example, you've got Unity and Unreal Engine, Godot, CryEngine, Game Maker Studio, RPG Maker, and a bunch of other ones. So the interesting thing about all these different engines is that each game development engine has an underlying programming language that is associated with it, as well as a type of game that it excels at creating. So for example, Unreal Engine and so Unity makes all sorts of different games, so 2D games, 3D games, alternate reality games, VR games. The one that I wanted to use to develop this game is called RenPy. So I would ask, what is the RenPy game engine? So it says here that RenPy is a visual novel engine designed to facilitate the creation of visual novels and storytelling games. So an interesting thing about RenPy is that the RenPy engine is based off of Python. So because I know how to program, I know how to program in Python. I wouldn't say that I'm the best at it, but this engine is based off of the Python programming language, which means that it's a lot less intimidating than using some other game engine that uses C# or Golang or some other language that I don't know much about. So another thing is that RenPy uses a simple, easy to learn scripting language based on Python, which makes it easy to use. It focuses on visual novels. So visual novels are a type of game that are very popular in Japan, and it's mostly about going from place to place, talking to different characters. What I need to accomplish inside the game doesn't need to be super complicated. So something like RenPy, which is more about just moving from place to place and talking to people and maybe making some choices, is a pretty good fit for the type of game I want to create. And as well, there's a lot of community and resources. So a great thing about RenPy is that there are a lot of people making games using this engine. So it's easy for me to solve any problems that I run across because there are a lot of people programming games using RenPy. Okay, so next, we're going to have to ask, how are we going to obtain assets for the game? So one thing about game development is that depending on what kind of game you're making, you need to obtain assets for these games. And assets for games include stuff like the graphics, the sound, I guess you could say the scripts, whatever you need for dialogue or for story. Those are also assets. But mostly when people refer to game assets, they're talking about the sound effects and music, and they're talking about sprites and backgrounds. So the thing about the game that I'm thinking of is that it's going to be a 2D game. It's going to be a visual novel, which means that there's not going to be too much super complicated about the graphics. but it's probably, I'd like to use I'd like to use sprites and something that looks a lot more like older video games, such as the type of games that you saw on the Super Nintendo, or what is another famous game console? Basically 2D games as opposed to 3D games. So there are different websites that you can use to get access to free sound effects and music, such as freesound.org. So if I were to go to freesound.org, you can basically search for a bunch of different sound effects, and there are a lot of submissions that people upload to the website. So say that I were to look for a computer beep, then each one of these files over here is going to be a different sound effect. You can preview each of them, and they're going to have different ways you can use the file. So this one over here is Creative Commons 0, and I think Creative Commons 0 means that you can use these kind of files in whatever way you want. Let me double check with ChatGPT and ask it what is Creative Commons 0 license. So what it does, it allows creators to waive all their copyright and related rights in their work, essentially placing it in the public domain. So this kind of license means you can use it and you don't need to credit the person who created it, and you don't have any restrictions in using it. So these are some great resources for getting free sound effects. So this is something I need to think about when I'm developing my game. As well, there's the YouTube. So YouTube has a lot of free music tracks that you can access as a YouTube user. If you have an account over at if you have a channel on YouTube, you can use their library of free music, and you can use it inside of your YouTube videos. And I'm pretty sure you can use it inside of any project you want, and I don't think that they're going to have a problem with that, but I'm going to have to do some research about whether or not I can use this YouTube music inside of my game. Okay, so as far as sprites and backgrounds are concerned, Gemini. So there are a couple of AI art tools that you can create sprites or backgrounds or anything you can use for video games, basically for free. So Gemini, let me log into my Google account. So Google, so it's going to be at gemini.google.com. And it's going to ask you to sign in. You have to sign in to use the AI. I'm going to log in as the Shy Hat. Let me grab my password. My Gmail. Let me grab my password, and I'm going to put the password in and press next. Okay, I say not now. And now I'm logged into Google Gemini, and I can chat with Gemini. So I go to the bottom and I say use Gemini. I press continue. And the great thing about Google Gemini is that you can actually get a lot out of Google Gemini as far as image creation is concerned without paying anything. And there's no limit to the amount of images you can create using Google Gemini. For example, I can say create an image of HackerFrog, which is a frog that hacks. and wears a hoodie and dark sunglasses. Rendered in the style of 16-bit video games. Games like the ones found on the Super Nintendo. Okay, so we give this prompt and it's going to create what you want. So to the people in chat, if you've used AI creation, like image creation tools before, and you wanted to suggest any in the chat, please leave your suggestions in the chat, because I'm always looking for some new tools. So these are great. These are some great images right here. We've got our that one looks a bit grotesque. Let me make these a little bit bigger. Okay, we've got our HackerFrog over here, and we've got our HackerFrog in front of the in front of a mainframe over here. And this is very nice. Although there are no sunglasses, I guess they ignored it for that. But these are some great images right here. So we can also click on Generate More, and it's just going to make more of these images. And I haven't come across a limit as to how many images you can create using this. The only limitation, the only big, this is a great one too. The only great limitation to Google Gemini for creating AI images. No Spanisha says, I usually use ChatGPT, but I've tinkered with Gemini since you mentioned that on your previous live. Yeah, one thing that I found about Gemini is that it doesn't answer questions as well as ChatGPT, but creating images using ChatGPT, like there's a limit to using that. You like the ones with the one with the shades on? You mean this one with the blue hoodie and the cup of coffee? This is really cool. I really like this one. But or are you talking about this one over here? But these are great little images, and yeah, it's great. I'll probably save this one to my hard drive a little later. Another thing about this is that you can also use this to create backgrounds. So let's just say I want a cafe. Create an image. The one at the top looks more Nintendo. So the one at the top. So this one over here, yeah, this one or this one. I guess you could say that this one looks more like maybe this one in particular looks more Nintendo. I don't know why they like carrying coffee cups. I guess coffee cups, drinking coffee is associated with hackers or something. But create an image of a cafe interior. A cafe interior at night. Let's just say the cafe is empty and the cafe is empty. Render this in the style of 16-bit video games, like the ones on the Super Nintendo. So sure. Oh, this is nice. Yeah. So I could use these kind of backgrounds for the game as well. So usually inside of visual novels, you have the character sprites standing in front of a background, and then that basically sets a scene. So if we were to look at like some screenshots for RenPy screenshot, and we're gonna go to images over here. So basically, this is the type of thing that we're talking about. So you basically have a window, and then there's a background image for each scene, and then there may be like a character standing, and there's like a dialog box, and then maybe there's a couple of choices that you have to make after the characters stop talking or whatever. So that kind of thing. But yeah, these kind of graphics over here would be great free alternatives. Well, because I mean, you know, I don't have hundreds of dollars to pay artists to create these kind of images for me. Although some people think that that you're a bad person if you use AI art inside of your projects, because you're taking away jobs from flesh and blood people. And they kind of right, but then again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make any money by, you know, creating this game, so I'm not going to spend money that there may or may not be made back, right? So also, let's take a look at the other option I have, which is Bing.com chat. Okay, so this is ChatGPT in another name. So Bing.com is Microsoft's web app, and this uses Copilot. So Copilot is essentially ChatGPT. So if we were to go to the chat and it says ask me anything, create an image of a Stellar's J. Of a Stellar's J flying through a forest. Rendered in the style of comic books. Or, yeah, rendered in the style of comic books. Okay, so we could try creating this image over here. So as people might know, the Stellar's J is my favorite bird. There are these little birds that are related to blue jays, but not exactly. They've got a different color scheme, and they're cute little birds that love to eat peanuts and sunflower seeds. And this is taking quite a while. And in fact, if you were to redeem this over here, then you can see some Stellar Jays. The Stellar Jays are these guys eating the peanuts. And that's the noise they make. Okay, so this is taking a while. It might have timed out. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to see if I can paste it in again a little bit. So I'm going to stop responding, cancel that, and then I'm going to reload the page, and then we're going to submit this again. So yeah, so we can basically use either Gemini or ChatGPT to create images that we want for the game, and in this way, we can create assets for the game during its development. And the great thing is that we don't have to pay any money for them. So this doesn't seem to be moving. I'll just go back to Gemini. And so the unfortunate thing about Gemini is that Gemini doesn't want to create images of people. So for Gemini, I'm not going to be able to use it to create a picture like sprites or assets of people. So if I were to ask Gemini to create an image of a policeman eating a donut, it's not going to do it, because it's going to say, oh, that's strange. It says, we are working to improve Gemini's ability to generate images of people. We expect this feature to return soon, and we'll notify you in release updates when it does. So we can't use Gemini to create images of people, but we could potentially work around it if we make all the characters in our game animals. So if we were to do like HackerFrogs, or if we were to have like, I don't know, like dog people walking around, I guess we could get around the restriction like that. So for example, I could say something like create an image of a hacker crow wearing sunglasses and a red scarf, holding working at a laptop computer. Render this in the style of like those found on the Super Nintendo. Okay, let's give it this. Oh, these look great. I love the very human looking. Well, I guess these are more like claws or something. But this is actually better than I expected. So if I wanted to work around this restriction in Gemini, where we're not allowed to create people, we could just make all the characters animals. But then again, if I do that, then people aren't going to take it as seriously, and they're just going to think that it's kind of a silly thing. So, but I could create a version of the game that uses these kind of graphics, and like maybe later on we can overhaul the graphics and turn all these animals into real people before we actually release the game. But man, this is such a great looking character. Okay, but I think. So what are going to be some difficult parts of developing this game? So the most difficult part about developing the game is probably going to be writing up all the dialogue and all the scenarios that are going to appear in the game. Writing the characters in a believable way. Of course, I could use ChatGPT to help me with writing all the dialogue and the storyline as well, and I certainly do think that ChatGPT is really good at helping out with like a first draft for a lot of writing pieces, like just to create a skeleton of a piece of writing, and then going in to adjust anything that you don't like inside of what is created by ChatGPT. I have tried writing a few things with ChatGPT, and I usually just get it to write like a first pass, because I enjoy editing a lot more than I enjoy just writing stuff out of whole cloth. But writing the dialogue is going to be difficult, and I think implementing a couple of features in the game, like the in-game computer file system, to be interacted with the command line might be a bit difficult, as well as creating the in-game web browser. That might also be difficult, but other games have done it before, so I might be able to to copy some code that was used in those circumstances. So it might not be too hard. But yeah, I'm excited about this project. I think that if I'm able to pull it off, it might be a really great tool for promoting HackerFrogs, and maybe in developing this game, I can write up some more courses for HackerFrogs, such as the x86 assembly programming course, as well as maybe the reverse engineering and binary hacking portions as well. That'd be great if developing this got me to write up some new stuff for HackerFrogs. But yeah, that's my pitch, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation of me just talking about how I can potentially create a game where we all make friends with different hackers and go through cybersecurity school. So I'm going to commit these changes, and if you wanted to take a look at this file, you could probably get it at, let me get the file link. So I'm going to copy the link, and I'm going to provide it in chat just in case you want to look at it. Notes by Nisha says, sounds exciting. Yeah, well, I was actually contemplating whether or not I should start talking about this on stream, because it seems like something that could be quite a commitment if I decided to start writing this, because doing game development is it's a very time-consuming task. But you know, if I do some proper organization as far as how I'm going to write this thing, it might become doable. But once again, I'd like to say thank you very much to everybody who's supported me on the stream so far, and everybody who shows up to my walkthroughs for stuff like Hack the Box. The next stream that we're going to do is going to be on Monday, and let me grab our schedule. So we are on Reddit at our HackerFrogs, and on our HackerFrogs there's going to be a weekly streaming schedule. So for example, this is this week's streaming schedule. So Friday, July 12th, this is what we're doing right now. And every week, usually on the weekend, I publish the next week's streaming schedule. Next week is week 28 of 2024. So on Monday, we're going to be going into Web App Hacking Basics number 2. We're going to be doing more with the NutS CTF game over the wire, and learning about some new concepts. We're going to be covering stuff like web app cookies. So cookies that you get when you log into websites, or when you just access websites in general. And we're also going to be talking about a few different tools we can use to manipulate HTTP headers. And those are some parameters that we send to web pages so that it shows us what we want it to show us. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. As for the secondary topic for next week, we've been talking in the past about some different topics. So we were talking about cybersecurity conferences. Maybe we're not going to be talking about that, but we've been talking about hacking history, the SolarWinds hack and the Morris worm. If you're interested in hearing about different historical hacks, please type in the chat that you're interested in hearing about hacking history. Or if you're interested in seeing me develop more of this game, we'll talk a bit more about organizing this. Please type hackdev in the chat. But another thing we were talking about was hacking culture stuff, and I think we might also be talking about podcasts. So there are a lot of different cybersecurity podcasts out there. And I'd love to take an hour or so to introduce all of my favorite cybersecurity podcasts to y'all. For example, like I really love Smashing Security. So Smashing Security is an info security podcast that is that. Notes by Nisha says hackdev. Of course you say hackdev. Okay, that means that I'm going to have to prepare some extra stuff next week. But thank you very much for your input. So Smashing Security is they try to be a humorous podcast as far as cybersecurity news is concerned. So they talk about all the cybersecurity news that's going on, and they try to make it kind of funny. But as well as that, there's also a classic cybersecurity podcast that is called Darknet Diaries. And Darknet Diaries was basically my favorite podcast about cybersecurity when I first started getting into cybersecurity maybe 4 years ago. This podcast has slowed down quite a bit. They only publish about one episode a month these days, but there are so many classic episodes on Darknet Diaries, talking about all sorts of cybersecurity topics and different big stories. For example, one of my favorite episodes is, I think it was, what was it called? Shadow Brokers. So Shadow Brokers was a cybersecurity, a hacker Twitter account, and what the Shadow Brokers did on Twitter is that they advertised that they'd stolen some information from the NSA, and that they were selling cyber weapons and basically exploit tools that they got from the NSA. And it's a very interesting episode. It talks a bit about how the government agencies are hoarding exploits for different pieces of software, and that they're not telling the software companies that there are vulnerabilities in their code. They're just using them to take advantage of different systems, probably that belong to enemies of the American government. I'll let you fill in the blanks as to who those are. But it's a great episode, and I think I might be talking about my favorite cybersecurity podcasts sometime during the week as well, probably after we do HackerFrogs web app hacking, or the another thing we need to do is we need to decide what we're going to be covering after this week, because we're not going to be doing Hack the Box anymore. So I think I might be doing hackmyvm, hackmyvm.eu, because I'm just really excited that there's another big cybersecurity education platform that I haven't been looking at really. So HackMyVM has a bunch of VMs to download, and I'm probably going to download one of the easy level ones and take a look at it in the next couple days. And if I think it's all right, then I might walk through it with you all next Friday. So look forward to that. As always, the schedule is going to be published over to the Reddit, and look out for it sometime during the weekend. All right, so thank you very much to everybody who participated in today's stream. Special shout out to our good friend Notes by Nisha, and good luck with your EJPT exam later in the week. Let me take a look at if there are any InfoSec streamers streaming right now. There is DJ Chateau, and if you want to take a look at DJ Chateau, he is at this link right here. That's to everybody who is in YouTube. You can take a look at his channel. Otherwise, we're going to raid DJ Chateau's channel if you are on Twitch. So that is raid, and then DJ Chateau. Thank you very much to everybody who came by. If you are on Twitch, we're going to be raiding DJ Chateau's channel. I'd really appreciate it if you stayed for the raid and just said hi in his chat. That's all. All right, everybody. See you next time. And this is the Shy Hat. And remember to hack the planet.